Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stu and the Nun. This is a new series we're doing here, calling it the Tactical Pause. And it's gonna be a short video. If you're familiar with our show on regular Tuesday nights, then you know that we do a 5 minute or a couple minute bald man rant at the end of the show, and sometimes we get our rants in, sometimes we don't. So for this one, I've came up with this new one called the Tactical Pause. The Tactical Pause is when you need to reset yourself in the middle and maybe things have gotten out of control. You're lost control of your unit. You need to get your supplies in order. Need to do something along that line. Just take a pause. Just take a knee, if you would, for lack of a better term. And the military has a much different meaning now. And look at what you got going on and reset yourself and get things reset out. So we got this new series called Tactical Pause. We don't plan it to take more than 5 minutes, and just put these up there once in a while, let you see them. We don't know when we're going to do them. We'll do them sporadically, either when Toby or I get something we want to go off about. We can set up and knock out one of these. So that's kind of what the point of this is, and I welcome you to see the first one here, Tactical Pause. We're going to talk a little bit about something that's happened over the last couple of days. As you know, there's been all this hubbub over the Gold Star wife and the congresswoman and the president and all this stuff over operations in Niger. And there's been all this. You've seen McClain on the news, and Senator McClain, and he's talking about wanting to know why we were there, and people are calling for an investigation. They wanted, why weren't there UAVs up, and what were our forces doing on the ground, so on and so forth. So let me educate you in some things. These guys were members, special forces, or assigned to a special forces. Special forces do a thing called FID, right? Pretty much means, I'm not going to get into all of it. They work with local indigenous forces, and they work with local units and military, train them, and everything from marching to how to use weapons and how to conduct combat operations. This is what special forces are for. That's what they do. Well before the days of 9/11, and whenever there weren't any other kinetic operations going on, most of the time they were doing this. That's what the Green Berets do, different from other operational. They work and train and alongside local. Now, you're saying, well, Troy, how do you know this? UNSF? No, the answer is no, I wasn't. I was born into Special Forces, i.e., my father was in Special Forces for 22 years, and I was raised my entire life with an ID card. Still have one today. But I was raised around that caliber of men, warfighter and warrior, back in the 70s and 80s. So, before there was Delta Force, there was Special Forces, Green Berets. That's where Delta Force came from, that everyone hears about and about. So back before those days, before that unit even started around 77, Special Forces did all those operations. There was no one higher. It was all they pulled from different Special Forces units. Those were the kind of folks that I knew, that I hung around, and I understood that mission set growing up. All the things I would hear in the house and get to know, and all the conversations I've had with my father since. So, have I served? No. Have I served? Have I known? I've known them my whole life, and I've served around a lot of folks that are in Special Forces, still in Special Forces. A lot of guys that were in Delta, so I understand the mission really well. I also understand the mission well because that's kind of what I did when I was in Afghanistan, because there weren't enough Special Forces. So the ETT mission that we were embedded with Afghan forces, working alongside them, sleeping, eating, shitting, everything with them, training them how to be soldiers, how to conduct combat operations, all that stuff. That is what Special Forces is for legacy has done. Just during the last 17 years, 16 years, we don't have enough of them. They had to do more kinetic or door kicking. So I say all that. This is probably going to be a longer tactical pause than normal. I say all that for this reason. We have forces, and if you've ever listened to our show on a regular basis, you hear us say it all the time, or any of the shows we've had before this one. We have forces that are deployed all over the world all the time. Just because you don't hear about them on the talking heads, there are forces all over them. Our good friend Jason Amarine, who was leader of a Special Forces ODA team that brought Hamid Karzai into southern Afghanistan. When 9/11 kicked off, I think he was Kyrgyzstan. Was probably tell me later. I mean, they're everywhere. My good friend Jimbo, Jim Hansen. I mean, he's been deployed all over the place, all over the Far East. I mean, we have folks in the Philippines, in the Republic of Georgia, and Ukraine. They're all over the place. So, and they're also in Africa, everywhere in Africa. Right? We have there's soldiers everywhere. So if you've ever heard, there's soldiers deployed everywhere. So why are they there? Because that's what they do. Why didn't they have UAVs or air coverage? Well, if you listen to some of the reports, they'd already done 29 of these patrols or missions without ever an incident. You raise your level of security up and down just like you do in your own house, right? You change your security posture based on the threat. Obviously, they didn't have any intel anything was going to happen, and they had no history of anything happening, so they didn't need all that. And to be quite honest, not every soldier gets a UAV. It's not how it works. We have soldiers out there all the time today in combat and missions like this that aren't necessarily meant to be in combat that are out there doing things. They don't get those kind of things. You don't, as Donald Rumsfeld said one time, we go to the war with the military we have, not the one we wish we have. So it'd be nice to have every single trick and tool and gadget for every single soldier, but that's not how it works. So, these guys were out there. There's no reason to do an investigation. I don't know why McCain's acting like this. He knows better than this. I don't know why the rest of the people are all in uproar and every talking head asking, hey, why isn't there when are we going to get an investigation? There's something going on. This is called being special forces. That's what they do. They're out there training and doing stuff with it. It just happens this one time out of, I don't know, tens of thousands of times. Something went wrong. They got attacked. They didn't get the intel. There was no warning. There was no, anything like that. Our enemies have adapted. They don't use cell phones as much. They do personal communications. They've learned. They've adapted. We're not as easy to pick up everything all the time. So they got on us. I think President Bush said at one time, they only have to, when talking about terrorists, they only have to be lucky once. You have to be right all the time. So my tactical pause is for everyone to take a pause. Talking heads, all the everyone that wants to be an expert, people not understanding any idea of what the special forces mission is about or what our military is doing or even paying attention where they are, to just stop and take a knee, drink some water, change your socks, and take a pause. Just take a tactical pause and let things work itself out. You can't get an answer right away every single time. You're not going to get what you want to hear right there on the spot. We may never know what happened. It's going to take a while. That's another one. They're all asking how come they haven't heard anything yet. Look, there's not like we have everything set up to communicate that right back. They're still trying to figure it out there. They're trying to deal with the loss of 4 of their brothers. They're trying to figure out, for the ones that were on the ground, probably several that were wounded, they probably haven't been able to collect and debrief everyone. So not everyone's got a direct, BlackBerry back to the White House. That's not how it works. So, anyways, that's my rant. I've been going on for a little bit, about 8 minutes longer than I want to. We want to keep these to about 5 minutes, but this is Troy with Stu and the Nunn. That was something I wanted you to think about, and that was your tactical pause.